Chapter 1: The Call of the Dead. Approximate 1,000 words. The transmission began as a whisper, broken static bleeding through deep space frequencies reserved for distress signals. Then came the child's voice. Thin, trembling, half swallowed by interference. "This is Eden Transport. Please, anyone, there." A scream cut the message. Alien laughter followed, metallic and shrill. Then silence. The signal's origin: Idolan 4, an outlaw moon known for smuggling and worse. The Galactic Council flagged it as unverified piracy. Case closed. But Earth didn't close cases when children were involved. In the subterranean war command beneath Arlington, Earth's delegation met the Council's envoys in cold light. The chamber was steel, glass, and silence, until Ambassador Rechtel of the Thelorians spoke, his tone measured and superior. "We extend condolences. Yet unregulated sectors invite tragedy. Your colonies must learn restraint." General Marcus Denton's knuckles tightened. 312 civilians. 200 were children. Don't talk to me about restraint. Rechtel's frilled crest flickered green, a sign of irritation. "Revenge solves nothing. The Council will dispatch investigators." "You mean bury it?" The voice came from the far end of the table. Colonel Elias Ward didn't raise his head as he spoke. The room seemed to hold its breath. The scar along his jaw caught the fluorescent light, a silver thread running through an expression carved from iron. Rechtel regarded him warily. "And you are? The man you send when there's nothing left to talk about." No one corrected him. Later, in the dim operations chamber, Ward studied the intercepted feed on a hollow display. Grainy visuals flickered: Jaco raiders, mantis-like bipeds with plated hides, herding humans into cargo bays. Fire. Panic. Then a small boy's voice. "Mommy, the stars are falling." Static. Ward's reflection stared back at him from the glass. His eyes were pale gray, the color of ash. Beneath his combat vest, a bracelet hung from his wrist, woven pink thread, too small for his size. He touched it once, briefly, as if to remind himself it was real. The door hissed open. General Denton entered, grim-faced. "The Council won't sanction a response. They're calling it an internal colonial matter." Ward didn't turn. "Of course they are. Intel confirms the Dominion's running slave pens again. They think we won't risk open war." Ward exhaled slowly. "They're right." Denton frowned. "Meaning?" Ward's voice was calm, flat, lethal. "War isn't what I'm sending." Operation Grave Fall was born that night. Buried beneath decades of redacted files, it existed only in theory, a black protocol authorizing retribution for crimes too obscene for diplomacy. It required one signature. The President's. He signed it without hesitation. The next morning, the USS Valkyrie, a ship that officially didn't exist, rose from its lunar cradle. Sleek, matte black, shaped like a blade, it was designed not to fight wars but to end them quietly. Ward stepped aboard with 6 specialists. None saluted. None spoke. They all knew what the mission meant. Captain Naomi Reyes, pilot, broke the silence as the hatch sealed behind them. "We're really doing this?" Ward checked the armory, methodically loading his rifle. "We're already doing it." She hesitated. "Command didn't say what happens if the Council intervenes." Ward looked up. "Then we make sure they remember why they feared us." Her mouth opened, then closed. She said nothing more. Before departure, Ward walked through the Valkyrie's memorial chamber, rows of transparent plaques etched with names of the lost. The section for Eden Transport 47B glowed softly. Hundreds of names. He placed his daughter's bracelet beside the list, beneath one name, Amelia Ward, age 7. "No graves in space," he whispered. "So I'll make one." The engines roared to life. The ship slipped beyond Luna's shadow and vanished into the black. 2 days into warp transit, the crew operated in silence. They didn't ask what happened to the children. The holos had shown enough. Ward spent hours in the observation deck, watching stars smear into silver lines. He thought about the Council's polished words. Stability, restraint, mutual respect. Words that meant nothing to the dead. Reyes joined him quietly. You ever wonder what happens if we go too far? Ward's gaze stayed on the stars. There's no such thing as too far when they start with children. Her voice was almost a whisper. You think this will change anything? He finally turned. No. But it'll make them think before they touch Earth again. They dropped out of warp near the Erebos system. Sensors painted Idolan 4 on the tactical display, a dark, airless moon orbiting a swollen gas giant. Heat blooms dotted the surface. Life signs, thousands. Reyes whistled softly. That's a lot of movement for a rock the Council claims is abandoned. Ward's tone was clinical. Slave pens. Processing centers. Bioharvest labs. Another crewman grimaced. And kids? Ward's eyes flicked toward him. Not anymore. The ship's AI reported interference from planetary ion storms. Good. It meant fewer eyes watching. Ward tapped his comm. Gear up. We're ghosts from here on. As they prepped for descent, the Valkyrie's command feed relayed a final encrypted message from Earth. The President's voice, steady and cold. Make them understand what mercy costs us. Ward answered simply. They will. Then he shut off the line. Inside the launch bay, gravity locks hummed. Ward's armor sealed with a hiss of pressure. Jet black plating bore no insignia, no flag. Just one engraved word across the chest plate, Gravekeeper. Each operative followed without question. They all knew the legend. Missions like this weren't written in records. They were written in fear. Ward checked the team's helmets. No broadcasts. No survivors. Evidence first, justice after. He looked each of them in the eye before boarding the drop pod. We don't start wars. We end them. As the pod disengaged, the Valkyrie disappeared into the void above. Clouds of ionized gas flared outside the viewport as they plunged toward the black moon. Rhea's voice came through the intercom, soft, steady. Touchdown in 30 seconds. Reading heavy interference. Ward's eyes narrowed on the approaching horizon. Lightning danced across a fractured landscape, illuminating fields of twisted metal and alien domes. He tightened his grip on his rifle. Doesn't matter. We're already there. The pod slammed into the surface, hatches releasing in synchronized bursts. Bitter wind howled through the breaches. Gray dust rose like ash. Ward stepped out first. The air was thin, the ground scorched. His visor displayed faint human DNA signatures beneath the soil. He knelt, brushing dust from a half-melted toy, small, plastic, once bright pink. For a heartbeat he didn't move. Then he rose, voice low and final. Mark the site. Every child gets a name. His team acknowledged silently. Above them, the Valkyrie drifted unseen, its black hull glinting in stormlight. Ward looked toward the horizon, where distant towers flickered with alien fire. His jaw tightened. We start here. The storm swallowed his words, carrying them into the dark. And for the first time in 50 years, the galaxy began to remember what fear felt like when it wore a human face. Chapter 2: The Black Moon of Idolan. Approximate. 1,000 words. The USS Valkyrie emerged from warp above a dead horizon. Erebos, a swollen gas giant, churned beneath them, its storms swallowing moons whole. One moon remained visible, clinging to orbit like a scar on the sky, Idolan 4. The crew gathered at the command deck. The display flickered with a heat map of surface structures, dozens of compounds scattered across black rock. Each glowed faint red, pulsing with life. Captain Reyes broke the silence. Multiple facilities. Heat outputs consistent with foundries and containment domes. No civilian broadcast, no ID beacons. They know we're watching. Ward stood behind her chair, eyes fixed on the map. They don't know who's watching. He turned to the team, 6 figures in matte armor, their visors dim. No unit insignia, no emblems. Just shadows. We're not here to occupy. We're here to end this. Drop in quiet, recon the central citadel, confirm evidence. Then we bury them. No one objected. They never did. 30 minutes later, 6 pods cut through Erebo's atmosphere like burning knives. Plasma shields flared blue against the turbulence. Ward's pod hit hard. The hatch split open to a wasteland. Lightning danced across the horizon. The air smelled of scorched metal and blood. He moved first, rifle raised. The ground beneath his boots was laced with fused glass and carbonized bones. A melted colony marker lay half buried in ash, Eden Outreach Settlement. A faint ping echoed in his HUD. Human DNA, confirmed. He knelt beside the fragment of a playground slide, a child's shoe fused to its surface. For a long moment he didn't speak. Then, tag this site. Upload coordinates to Earth Memorial Registry. One of his soldiers hesitated. Sir, the registry's encrypted. Then burn it in. Manual entry. Every child gets a name. They moved through the ruins in silence. No insects. No wind, only the hum of decaying reactors. By nightfall, they reached the outer perimeter of the Slaver Fortress, a city of iron and cruelty. The citadel rose in the distance, surrounded by walls of black alloy. Drone lights swept the skies. Ward crouched behind a ridge, studying the pattern. Patrol rotation every 60 seconds. Thermal relays in the upper towers. They're organized. Reyes adjusted her scanner. Seeing non-Jacor readings too. Mixed species. Slaves, Ward said. Labor for the guild. He watched a convoy of transports enter the fortress. Crates were offloaded under guard. From one, a humanoid form tumbled to the ground, small, frail, unmoving. The soldier beside him muttered, "They're using bodies as currency." Ward's voice was barely a whisper. Not anymore. They infiltrated through a sewage tunnel. The air was rancid, vibrating with machinery above. When they surfaced, they were inside the foundry sector. Hundreds of cages lined the walls, humans, Hesh, and Skarn packed together. Gaunt faces lifted toward the sudden movement of armored figures. A whisper spread. Terrans. Ward motioned for silence, cutting through the locks with his wrist torch. Quiet. Move fast. Find anyone with implants or trackers. Reyes checked the nearest captive, a teenage girl, eyes wide. She's clean. The girl looked at Ward's visor. They said no one would come. They were wrong. She wept soundlessly. The deeper they moved, the clearer the horror became. Transparent tanks filled with neural tissue. Labeled cognitive wine, batch 213. Ward stared at the pulsing fluid, glimmers of synaptic sparks swirling inside. They're harvesting memory, Reyes whispered. Ward's jaw tightened. Human memory. The Jacor sell emotion like liquor. He activated his recorder, scanning the entire chamber. Evidence secured. Then he leveled his rifle at the vats and fired until the lights went dark. The alarm finally triggered. Sirens screamed. Heavy doors sealed around them. Hostiles inbound. Ward and his team fanned out, firing in controlled bursts. Plasma fire burned across corridors. The Jacor fought in swarms, clicking in rage. Ward's voice cut through comms. No noise, discipline now. Clean sweep. They moved like phantoms, precise, lethal, unstoppable. When the last body hit the floor, silence returned. Reyes looked at him. That was the guard division. Ward reloaded calmly. Then we're close. In the central chamber, a hologram flickered to life above a dais, towering, ornate. A figure materialized, Lord Vrax Ulthar, his exoskeletal frame cloaked in gold filigree. Ah, Vrax said, voice oily and amused. The humans finally found their courage. Ward stared up. You killed our children. Vrax tilted his head, amused. Children? No, Commander. We process resources. Your kind multiplies like vermin. Surely you can spare a few? You think this is about numbers? Ward asked quietly. Vrax leaned closer through the projection. You think vengeance makes you strong. But the galaxy runs on power, not sentiment. The Council understands this. That's why they let me exist. Ward said nothing. He simply deactivated the projection. Reyes whispered, "Orders? Burn it all." The team planted charges through every corridor. While they worked, Ward accessed the fortress main network. His visor reflected lines of alien code scrolling like fire. He uploaded a data pulse, Earth's language, raw and direct. Across slaver channels, across guild ships and stations, the message spread faster than light. "We remember the children." Every terminal, every comm hub in the Dominion displayed those words. Panic erupted across the networks. Reyes stared at the feed. "They'll trace that back to us," Ward replied. "Good." Then came the Council's transmission, broadband override, official seals shimmering across their displays. "Unidentified Terran vessel, you are in violation of interstellar law. Cease all activity and surrender. You are not authorized to operate in Jacor territory." Ward's tone was flat. "Idolan 4 is not Jacor territory. It's a graveyard. Stand down immediately, Colonel Ward," said the Council envoy. "Your aggression threatens the stability of the galaxy." Ward paused, eyes narrowing. "You mean your control?" Static filled the channel. The Council's voice returned colder. "You are ordered to retreat. Any further hostility will be considered a declaration of war." He muted the line. Reyes turned from her console. "They set us up." Ward nodded slowly. "They wanted this." He opened a sealed command file in his suit's interface. A red icon pulsed, Grave Protocol, Omega Clause. "Valkyrie, execute Neuropulse." The ship acknowledged. High above the moon, invisible energy rippled through orbit, an electromagnetic scream that stripped every synthetic system bare. The Council ships surrounding Idolan blinked out one by one, drifting powerless in silence. Inside the fortress, lights flickered then died. Generators failed. Only emergency flames cast shadows across the walls. Ward looked up through the shattered roof. Storm lightning flashed against the void. "They thought silence made them safe," he murmured. "Now they'll hear us." He turned to his team. "Evac routes stay open for the captives. Everyone else, ready for final strike." Reyes hesitated. "Sir, we're outnumbered. You won't make it through the core." Ward's expression didn't change. "Then I'll make sure they don't either." A pause. Then she nodded. "Yes, sir." As the team dispersed, Ward looked toward the citadel's heart, its spire glowing faintly against the storm. He holstered his rifle, took one last look at the ruins they'd uncovered, and whispered to no one. "The funeral begins." He walked into the storm without looking back. Above, the Valkyrie's engines flared through the clouds, silent, unseen, carrying humanity's wrath like a shadow through the night. The storm swallowed the horizon. Wind tore across the shattered plains as Ward advanced toward the burning citadel. The fortress that had enslaved thousands now lay crippled, lights gone, its command network silent. Every drone, every weapon, every defense array had died with the neuropulse. The Valkyrie drifted far above, cloaked and quiet. Ward's team was extracting survivors through evacuation tunnels, but he walked the other way, toward the heart of the storm. Toward Lord Vrax. He moved with mechanical precision, his armor scarred and dusted with ash. Rain hissed against hot metal as he passed rows of wreckage. Slaver corpses lay where they'd fallen, twisted in frozen terror. Rhea's voice crackled through his calm. "Colonel, all captives secured. Extraction windows closing. You need to move." "Not yet. Sir, the reactor's destabilizing." "Then I'm right on time." He muted the channel. Inside the citadel, the corridors were half-lit by emergency flames. Shadows stretched long across the walls. The stench of ozone and burnt flesh lingered. Ward's boots echoed softly on the metal floor as he descended into the main spire. The silence broke when movement flickered ahead. Two Jacor elites emerged from the gloom, armored in obsidian plating. They hissed through rebreathers and opened fire. Ward didn't dodge. He stepped into the shots, returning precise bursts that tore through their chests. Both collapsed before their weapons cooled. He reloaded and kept walking. Every motion deliberate. Every breath measured. At the base of the command spire, he found the doors sealed. The control console was fused, useless. He drove his gauntlet through the panel, ripped out the core wiring, and forced the doors apart. Inside was a throne room built for arrogance, mirrored floors, towering banners, and a panoramic view of the planet's storms. Vrax Ulthar waited in the center, standing beside the glowing heart of the fortress, the reactor core, its energy pulsing unstable. Vrax's gold-etched armor glimmered in the firelight. "So," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber, "the Gravekeeper comes to claim another grave." Ward stepped forward slowly. "You killed them for profit." Vrax spread his claws wide mockingly. "Profit? No. For order. The strong dictate purpose. That's civilization. You call that order?" Vrax's mandibles clicked, amused. "Your council calls it peace. They needed balance. I provided it. And they'll protect me, because I feed them what they crave." Ward stopped a few paces away. "Then they'll starve." Vrax's tone darkened. "You think one man can frighten an empire?" "No," Ward said. "Just remind it what fear feels like." The alien lunged, faster than expected. His glaive hissed through the air, slicing sparks off Ward's armor. Ward countered with a short burst from his sidearm, but Vrax deflected it, striking again. The blade grazed Ward's shoulder, searing through plating. He didn't retreat. He moved in close, slammed a combat knife into Vrax's side, and drove him backward against the reactor column. Energy crackled between them, throwing shadows across their faces. Vrax snarled, wrenching the knife free. "You're too late, human. The Council fleet will erase you before dawn." Ward's tone was cold, almost calm. "They're blind. The pulse killed their systems. No one's coming." Vrax hesitated, mandibles flexing in disbelief. "You wouldn't dare." Ward shoved him hard into the reactor housing. "I already did." The alien's expression twisted from arrogance to something close to fear. The reactor's energy began to pulse erratically. Warning sirens blared across the facility. Structural supports groaned. Ward activated his calm. "Valkyrie, prepare for orbital extraction. I'll meet you in 6 minutes." Rhea's reply came fast. 6? That place is going critical. 5, then." He cut the line again. Vrax swung wildly, desperation replacing elegance. Ward blocked, countered, and forced him down. They crashed against the metal floor, sparks scattering like embers. Ward pinned him, pressing the barrel of his rifle to Vrax's throat. "You called us animals," he said softly. "But animals don't build graves. We build reminders." He pulled the trigger. The shot tore through Vrax's neck. The alien convulsed, eyes wide, then fell still. Ward looked down at the body. "Now you're one of them." He turned toward the reactor. Alarms howled. A fracture line spread across the containment shell, blue energy spilling through. Ward armed a micro-singularity charge from his belt and set it beside the console. He took one last look around, the throne room, the banners, the bodies. Then he whispered, "Idolan. Closed." He activated the detonator and walked away. The spire erupted behind him as he stepped through the outer gates. Fire roared upward, devouring the citadel. The blast wave hit seconds later, hurling dust and debris into the storm. Ward stumbled but kept moving. His armor's HUD blinked red across every system, critical failure, radiation surge, oxygen loss, but he didn't stop. Through the haze, the Valkyrie descended, its hull gleaming faintly under lightning. The ramp opened midair, extending toward him. Rhea's voice filled his calm, urgent. "We've got you, Colonel! Move!" He broke into a run, diving onto the ramp as the ship lifted. The storm vanished beneath them in a pillar of white light as the citadel imploded, its core collapsing into a single blinding flash. From orbit, Idolan 4 looked like a dying sun swallowed by its own shadow. In the medbay, Rhea stripped Ward's cracked armor, revealing burns across his side. "You should be dead," she muttered. "Maybe later." She tried to smile, failed, and looked at the monitors. Council's already broadcasting statements, calling this an Earth rogue action. They're demanding surrender. Ward sat up despite the pain. And the colonies? Celebrating, she said quietly. They're calling you the demon of Idolan. Ward didn't answer. He looked out through the viewport. The moon's remains drifted in glowing fragments. They'll remember the children now. Days later, the council convened an emergency session. Worlds argued in panic, some condemning humanity, others praising their defiance. The official footage from Idolan, recovered from the Dominion's own archives, leaked before the council could bury it. The galaxy watched children die, then watched what Earth sent in return. For the first time in history, no one laughed at the word Terran. The Valkyrie returned to Luna under blackout orders. Ward refused medical commendations, refused public interviews. He walked the surface of the memorial plane in silence until he reached a single gravestone. The bracelet he'd carried since the beginning still hung from his wrist. He set it on the stone. The name etched there read, Amelia Ward. Behind him, the president approached quietly. The council's terrified. Some demand your arrest. Others want an alliance under our terms. You changed the balance, Elias. He didn't look up. I didn't change anything. I just reminded them what happens when they forget who we are. The president hesitated. Was it worth it? Ward's eyes remained on the grave. Ask the stars if they're quieter now. He stood, placed his rifle against the stone, and walked away. Weeks later, across distant systems, whispers spread among smugglers and slavers alike. They spoke of a black ship that appeared without warning. Of a man in gray armor who left only ashes behind. They called him many things. But one name carried farther than all the rest. The Gravekeeper. And wherever that name reached, the trade in human lives ended.